Hi folks, how are you doing? I'm the Reverend Danny Crosby, a Unitarian minister serving congregations in Altrincham and Urmston in the northwest of England. I do hope you're finding the love and witnessing the blessings that are there in life, in these trying and very difficult times. It is hard, my friends, but we're all in this together. We're all in this together. I'm offering these devotions as my little bit of hope, doing what I can, playing my role in being a part of the solution. I offer these devotions as a balm for the heart, the mind, the spirit and the soul. The title for today's reflection is A Journey of 1 Inch, Living in the Layers. Might sound odd, that. Maybe it is. So I invite us just to still ourselves. Let's invite a loving presence to be here amongst us and to awaken from deep, deep within us. I have lit the flame of freedom in this cup of belonging, acceptance, and love. We join together in our physical separation, separate but united in our devotion to life and love. Help us to sing for joy, like the birds each morning sing their faith in being alive and being here. May we know the deep connections that sustain us, the roots that hold and nurture us beneath the surface of our lives. May we not be afraid to explore the depths of being, the many layers of life, the many layers of life. May we remember that we are deeply connected in heart, mind, spirit and soul. May we be open to all that this day brings, to all that life offers, and may we offer our all to life. May our being become a vessel of love this day and in all days. Amen. Now, I'm going to begin this reflection with another poem, actually, and it's another by the wonderfully named farmer, poet and activist, Wendell Berry. Always a farmer first, Wendell Berry, you know. And it's titled A Spiritual Journey. Very short poem. But then a spiritual journey isn't meant to be very long, you know. Anyway, this is A Spiritual Journey by Wendell Berry. And the world cannot be discovered by a journey of miles, no matter how long, but only by a spiritual journey. A journey of 1 inch, very arduous and humbling and joyful, by which we arrive at the ground at our feet and learn to be at home. And it seems a particularly apt poem in these days of physical separation, as we are literally learning and having to be at home, learning what it means to be at home. Our lives and the lives of others depend upon it. And these last few days I've been thinking on these words of Wendell Berry quite a lot. As I've sat at home, I am rediscovering the truth in the words that you can journey a great distance even if you rarely even step out of your front door. The spiritual journey is not really one of length, but one of depth. It's not really about physically going anywhere, and yet the landscape, or at least one's perception of it, seems to constantly change. We do not need to blast off into space or to enter a new world. We do not need to enter outer space at all. What we need to do is to learn to truly inhabit the inner space. We need to learn to be at home, to belong here. We need to learn to live in the layers of life, of our own lives. That's the real journey. Now, no doubt the Wendell Berry poem is inspired by the great mystic Meister Eckhart. It was he who claimed that the spiritual journey is not one of distance, that we do not so much travel on a physical pilgrimage from A to B to C to D, etc. That the spiritual journey is some kind of linear progression. in which we reach some goal, some new state of being way over there in some distant realm. No. No, instead, we discover new truths. This is the spiritual journey, new understandings and experiences. We journey through life in a cyclical sense. And that we don't really go anywhere. There's nowhere to go. And that as we do, we move deeper into the layers of our own being and find ourselves at home in the layers of our own lives. Maybe this time is an opportunity to truly journey there. But we can't go out there, so we have to go in here. John O'Donohue claimed that Meister Eckhart radically revises the whole notion of spiritual programs. He says there is no such thing as a spiritual journey. A little shocking, this is refreshing. If there was a spiritual journey, it would only be a quarter of an inch long, or many miles deep. It would be a swerve into rhythm with your deeper nature and presence. The wisdom here is so consoling. You do not have to go way outside yourself to come into real conversation with your soul and with the mysteries of the spiritual world. The eternal is at home within you. That's taken from Anam Cara, a book of Celtic wisdom. And O'Donohue further claims that sometimes we don't see what is already here, it is already within us. This is because we have become too familiar with our own surroundings, and that this has led us to losing our sense of belonging. This is why we search out there beyond, because we fail to recognize this sense of belonging within ourselves and our own surroundings and experiences. In fact, it's the very familiarity that is the problem. Therefore, we need to dig deeper within the layers of our own being in order to see through this facade, the facade of ourselves. He states that one of the difficulties for people in awakening to their inner world is the familiarity of their lives. They find it hard to find something that is really new and interesting and adventurous in themselves, and yet everything we really need for our journey here has already been given to us. So there's a great strangeness in the shadows of our soul world that we should become more conversant with and closer to. I am becoming aware that something inside of me is changing. In my relationships with life, actually. The familiar is less recognizable, and as a result I can bear witness to everything with a kind of new vision. As a result, I'm able to hear everyone and everything with a deeper clarity. As a result, I seem to understand all that is in a new kind of light, if you like. Things just seem different. As a result, I experience a deeper intimacy with everything and everyone, even though we are physically separate. Relationships now seem to matter more, they're more precious. I feel a deeper commitment to my relationships in life. And I'm not just talking about my relationships with people here. Everything seems more precious right now. I'm seeing how precious these ties are, how much they really matter, because everything really matters. Everything is sacred, everything is precious. It really matters. It seems I've gone a bit deeper into the layers of my own soul and the soul of life, and as a result, more seems to have been revealed. More's been scraped away, if you like. What once seemed familiar now seems different. But this doesn't frighten me. Not this doesn't frighten me. The health and well-being of those I love does a little. I just feel more at home both within my own skin and the world I live within. It feels like the beginning of something new, and yet it does not require me to walk down a different road. And that's because what is here now is more precious to me. It means more. Perhaps I took things for granted. And now that the things that I took for granted are under threat, I see their true value. Things are more precious to me now. Life is more precious to me now. This time in physical aloneness has enabled me to connect to my own past too. I am noticing a deeper sense of connection to my own past and a deeper understanding of who I am, who I've always been, I suppose. These last couple of weeks seem to have allowed a deeper intimacy with who I am, past, present, and even future. I wonder sometimes when speaking of spiritual matters, actually, if we focus too much on the moment. It's almost a fetish, actually. Because in so doing, we lose this sense of the richness of the whole of our lives. Brought to mind a rather beautiful quote by the wonderful, late great American poet Stanley Kunitz. Anyway, he said, "I think it's important for one's survival to keep the richness of the life always there to be tapped. One does not live in the moment. One lives in the whole history of your being, from the moment you become conscious." Let's not lose sight of that. We live in the whole consciousness of our being, the whole of our being, from the moment we become conscious. Let's not disrespect our own lives by casting it away. I've been thinking of so many people I have loved who are gone from life now, no longer here these last couple of weeks. One came to mind as I reread some wonderful poetry that I've come to love, one I'm going to share in a moment. One of these was the Reverend Jane Barraclough, who died far too young. One thing that Jane awakened within me was a love for poetry, especially in worship. She was my minister for a short time, and that's something I'll always treasure. When I qualified as a minister myself, she gave me a book as a gift. The book is Soul Food, Nourishing Poems for Starved Minds, edited by Neil Astley and Pamela Robertson Pierce. I have used many poems from it over the years. Some I've shared in these devotions. In the book, Jane wrote a dedication. It read, "For dearest Danny, all blessings on your many ministries. Love, Jane." Jane knew me well, and she understood my many ministries. I've got more now. This is another one. In the book was this incredible poem by the late Stanley Kunitz, who I've already mentioned. And it's entitled The Layers. Now, my accent's a bit funny sometimes, so sometimes I'm really careful at my attempts to say the word layers. I'm trying to say layers, not lairs, as in where lions live. This is the layers of our lives. So this is The Layers by Stanley Kunitz. I have walked through many lives, some of them my own, and I am not who I was, though some principle of being abides from which I struggle not to stray. When I look behind, as I am compelled to look before I can gather strength to proceed on my journey, I see the milestones dwindling toward the horizon and the slow fires trailing from the abandoned campsites over which scavenger angels wheel on heavy wings. Oh, I have made myself a tribe out of my true affections, and my tribe is scattered. How shall the heart be reconciled to its feast of losses? In a rising wind, the manic dust of my friends, those who fell along the way, bitterly stings my face. Yet I turn exulting somewhat, with my will intact to go wherever I need to go, and every stone on the road precious to me. In my darkest night, when the moon was covered and I roamed through wreckage, a nimbus clouded voice directed me. Live in the layers, not on the litter. Though I lack the art to decipher it, no doubt the next chapter in my book of transformations is already written. I am not done with my changes. Live in the layers, not on the litter, he wrote. Now, the poem was written at a pivotal moment in Kunitz's long career. He believed that it spoke of something that was central to his whole experience of being a poet and a person. He wrote it in response to a personal crisis. He had suffered several griefs, including his mother and two older sisters, as well as several dear friends. It was written as a time of change in his life, both personally and as a writer. He stated of it, I wrote the layers in my late 70s to conclude a collection of 60 years of poetry. Through the years, I had endured the loss of several of my dearest friends, including Theodore Rothke, Mark Rothko, and most recently Robert Lowell. I felt as I was near the end of a phase in my life and my work. The poem began with 2 lines that came to me in a dream, spoken out of a dark cloud. Live in the layers, not on the litter. Live in the layers, not on the litter. I think there's some beautiful wisdom here. And I wonder where it came from. Well, out of the clouds, according to Stanley. You know what? In many ways, this line may be the key to everything. To live in the layers of our lives, the whole of our lives. So often we want to move on, leave behind the litter, the mess, the pain and the suffering. But to do so is to fail to bear witness to our whole lives. I believe that we have to live in our whole lives. We can't just pick and choose the bits we want and the bits we don't. And no matter how hard we try, we can't really leave our lives behind us. And we shouldn't. Kunitz was an avid gardener. Maybe it's from this love that the idea of the layers grew. In horticulture, layering is a method of propagation that brings forth new life from the dying or broken stem. This allows new roots to form, and therefore life goes on. Or do I mean life grows on? Who knows? We cannot live on the brokenness of our lives, but we can grow anew from the litter if we live within the layers. We cannot completely begin anew, nor should we want to. We cannot leave behind what has gone before, nor should we want to. We cannot escape who we are, nor should we want to. The spiritual journey is not one of distance. You can't outrun your life. It's one of depth. It's about finding ourselves at home in the ground at our feet. It's about living in the layers, the deep, rich layers of our lives. The spiritual journey is not one of distance, it is one of depth. It will at times appear arduous and painful, and it will certainly be humbling as we are brought to our knees by the suffering that is part of life. And yet from this very suffering, we will reawaken once again, just like the new spring that's coming alive right now. It's this that opens us, and it's this that brings the joy of living once again. It is this that will bring us home to a greater sense of belonging to all that has been, all that is now, and all that will ever be. It is this that breeds deeper intimacy with ourselves, with those who we share our life with, and with the eternal Spirit, the hand of life that I name God. Call it what you like. So I say, let's continue in our journey. Let us live in the layers. Let's sing the joy of living in all its mystery and invite others to come and join us in song. They were doing it the other night, you know. We praise the NHS staff and all those that help us in our time of need, in this real time of need. Let's sing that joy of living. That song that tells us that we all belong. Because we do, and we're all precious, and we all matter, and everything matters. Every thought, every feeling, every word, every deed, everything matters. All is sacred. So let's bless life. Let's live in the layers and not in the litter. Amen. I'm going to end this little reflection with just a few words of blessing. Gosh, we need to bless. We need to bless more and more. We all should bless. Why don't we bless more? And how do we bless? By giving our whole hearts to life. So let's begin today. Let's give our whole life, our whole hearts to life. But here are my final words of blessing for today. May the Eternal bless you and protect you. May the Eternal smile on you and favour you. May the Eternal befriend you and prosper you. May we carry the song of the Eternal with us, and may we do so in all that we feel, in all that we think, in all that we say, in all that we do. It matters. Amen.